And what role does the media have to play in making social change?
Well, I think the media has got a big role to play in case you actually have seen what's happened in Delhi recently in December. Now, the media actually was there to cover what really happened, and the story came out. And initially, the politicians said that, look, this is probably just another one of those incidents. But the fact that media stayed on the story, and that really, I think, grabbed the imagination and the anger of the people, and you kind of saw what really happened when the people were out on the streets demanding change. So I think the media is a catalyst. The media has been able to bring about change. And very often the media is working with the NGOs to try and bring about that change.
Have you seen an increase in coverage of issues affecting or issues around violence against women?
I have. In fact, from almost zero, I would say it's really now increased, and it's also largely to do with NGOs and people who are out there to try and make a difference. Because even while reporting such stories, you have to be very careful. Reporters also end up sometimes making mistakes, crossing over and perhaps reporting the name of the victim, for example. But it's years and years of hard work by NGOs and of course the media itself that the two have been able to come together and effect change.
How do NGOs work with you to make sure that your reporting is accurate and effective?
Well, that's interesting. I mean, obviously reporting is all about trust and its experience. So the longer you work with them, they understand you, you understand them, and obviously you get a better understanding of the subject. Very often they tell us that, look, we've come across thus and such a case, and would you like to go and cover this? And obviously, if it's newsy, we definitely go out and do it. But very often, I get a tip-off, and I tell them that, look, this is something that's come by me, and before telling the cops or something, I think you guys should be informed so that you can keep an eye on this. And if we can, we definitely join forces with you to try and cover it as well. So it's a symbiotic relationship.
Do you find as a man that you have a different kind of impact reporting these stories? I mean, I think sometimes women reporters look like they have a mission,
Yeah.
if they're talking about violence against women, but male reporters actually bring a different kind of credibility to that particular issue.
I would believe so, and again, I mean, I think the job of a reporter is to always state the facts. But in stories like this, it's tough not being emotionally involved, because when you see sometimes the horrors of what's really happened to some of the victims, you actually feel very angry. But you have to keep doing your job. You have to be absolutely factual and mustn't ever forget that. And very often, you really get emotionally charged. And I mean, I've seen my friends in the NGO circle also get very emotionally charged, and you try and hold back each other. Look, you'd like to really land a few punches on these guys, but you say that's not our job. Our job is to make sure the story goes out there. Our job is to make sure that the NGO gets the support, the police get the support, and obviously the case proceeds in the right direction and the victim gets justice.
Was there a story or an incident that you saw through working with Shakti Vahini, for instance, that changed your commitment to these issues?
So many. But I'd say that my trip to the red light district in Delhi, I'd never actually been there, and I actually went with them for the first time, and actually seeing the kind of place that these people stay in, the kind of rickety tables they have where they basically meet their clients and interact with them, the stench of the place. I mean, that's something that just changes you. I can't get it out of my head. In fact, I tell most of my friends, other journalists as well, that look, just go out there and see what the hell's happening, because I think by doing that, it'll perhaps just add in an impetus for you to try and go out there and do more stories. Yeah.
Do you think the public is fully aware of what's happening there?
I would say the public has an idea, but until you actually go and show some of these stories, they don't really know what exactly is happening. And I think as journalists, it's very important for us to cover the story from all angles and get all those facets out. Obviously with a degree of sensitivity, but you need to get that story across, and you need to humanize that story. That this is not just another statistics in a crime record log sheet. This is a victim. This is a person who has a family. And that's important. That's why we guys come in. So that storytelling is very important. And I think over the years, the fact that the media has done this, it's actually brought about change. It's actually, I think, grabbed the imagination of the people who've actually put pressure on the decision makers to try and effect change.
The National Media Coalition is really interesting, and I'm curious about sort of the fact that it's a coalition, the idea that you have national media and regional media working together to sort of tackle these issues. How does that work?
Well, in fact, the word coalition and television reporters don't really go together, because it's a very competitive field. But all of us realize that, especially those people who are covering such stories, that the issues, bigger than all of us. It's really bigger than what we do. And very often, resources are limited, our time is limited. So if I get a good tip-off, if I get an important story which I believe should be told, but if I'm busy, I'm going to pass it on in the coalition. Same thing, someone else gets a story, they'll pass it on if they don't have the time or the resource to do it. Or maybe it's happening in a different city and they're saying that the victim is now moved here to Delhi, or the traffickers moved to someplace else. We pass that information around to try and make sure that the focus always stays on the victim, it always stays on the accused, to try and make sure at the end that justice is secured.
And in one or two sentences, how would you define the National Media Coalition? What is it?
Well, the National Media Coalition, in fact, is just journalists coming together along with NGOs, working together basically to make sure that stories like this are covered more often, that there is a greater level of cooperation between us. I mean, journalists are forever competing, but on this particular issue, it's actually united us. And we feel that even if one channel can't do it, they'd actually give the information. It's more of a unofficial kind of arrangement, but that we'd actually give the information across so that the other guys can pick it up, and together at least we succeed in trying to bring about change.
That's great.